Hello, welcome back to Aetheral Space 13.48. The first steps upon a bleeding path.
Is your path bleeding?
It is, my boots are all covered in blood now. It's bullshit.
Is your path bleeding or clotting? He laughs. It's a good path, sir.
This is bullshit. I went on the living path, but I brought my golf cleats.
Alright, are we ready?
I'm stabbing it with every step. I'm so ready.
Cool of you. Why would you do that?
I didn't do it on purpose. It's just the nature of my being. I'm a hedgehog.
I see.
An emotional hedgehog.
Emotional hedgehog. That much is true.
What do you mean?
I vibe with that.
Do
Nothing.
you think it's true?
Yeah, you're a little bit of an emotional hedgehog. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Dan, honey? No, Dan! You love to cause pain. That's why you write this series.
Just like in Naruto. There's that guy.
Yeah, exactly. You're like Pain, the character.
Yeah.
I was talking about Pain, the sensation. I guess he's also a sensation.
He's always somehow he's going to bring pain, though.
We can read Aetheral Space.
Yeah, I think so. That's why we're here, right?
Alright, let's do this. It was said that the shepherdess appeared again and again throughout the history of the supremacy, like a ghost or a specter or a patron angel of the nation itself, the warden of the supremacy. When the supremacy faced an existential threat, she would come. With a quiet hand and a sharp blade, the threat would be cut down before most even became aware of it. Prospective traitors vanished, foolish supremes had their reins cut short, enemies found themselves helpless. She'd even been on Elysian fields. How much had she interfered there? It was impossible to know. In truth, though, she was no ghost, no specter, and certainly no angel. She was one of the Zaylan Morhan, the ancient precursors to the special officers who'd fought together during the Thousand Revolutions. The blind man, the Umbrant Avenger, even the man who'd created the Sapphire Star and discovered Aether to begin with. All of them had been her close comrades. She was something out of the history books. The Sapphire Star, is that the prince?
Who can say?
You can say.
I won't.
Through some ability or tick, however, she'd managed to outlive history and survive until the modern day. For all that time, she'd been carrying on the will of the First Supreme, Azez Tazir, the one they called the Absolute. In short, she was the one who maintained the shape of this world. Ruth listened to Wu Ming's story quietly, lying back on a moth-bitten couch, her eyes fixed firmly on the filthy ceiling. It wasn't a ceiling she recognized. This whole world felt like she didn't recognize it anymore. Alice, Rex. She tried to stuff the mantra down, but it would only go so far. That rage still boiled within her body like it had replaced her blood. She could turn it cold, but it grew no less intense and no less vindictive. Right now, she wasn't in her right mind. Ruth was very well aware of that. The fact that she was just accepting Wu Ming's presence was proof enough. He'd infiltrated her inner circle for months, pretending to be Roman Hitch. He'd lied to her and tricked her. She should have been furious at him. But she wasn't. All of her fury was reserved for Ray Rudicia, for the shepherdess. "Thanks for the info," Ruth mumbled as she sat up, her voice curiously calm to even to her own ears. "See you around." Wu Ming raised an eyebrow as he watched her go. She'd woken up in this ruined apartment building, the only source of warmth being a weird string campfire that Ming had created, so she could only assume that this was some impromptu base he'd found. There wouldn't be any security to stop her leaving. Oh, hang on, my headset went out. 1 sec.
No problem. Turn it back on. Just turn it back on, okay? Hey. You need to turn it back on, yeah? Hello?
There you are.
I was scared.
You just gonna... Sorry. You just gonna head out? Wu Ming called out, sitting cross-legged next to the campfire. "What are you gonna do?" Ruth looked back at him, the light from the scarlet flames flickering across her tired face. What was she gonna do? That was an easy one. She knew the answer to that. "I'm gonna kill her," she replied. "The shepherdess." Just like that? You think you've got what it takes? She's a monster who's lived 1,000 years, you know. Ruth blinked. "Then she'll stop at 1,000. She turned to leave, but a barrier of string bound the door tight. Bound the door right?
Aye, tight it should be, yeah. Thank you.
Sighing, she looked back over her shoulder at Wu Ming. Was this really going to turn into a fight? She didn't have the energy for this. Don't forget to fix that in the final product, by the way, since we're recording this later. Tanhoney?
What do you think the final product is?
Honey, you're gonna fix it, right?
I just fixed it. You just saw me fix it.
But you'll fix it when it gets posted to Royal Road,
Where do you
right?
think the Royal Road one comes from? What do you think the source of it is?
Just need to be sure it's in this light.
Oxygen palm!
Sighing, she looked back over her shoulder at Wu Ming. Was this really going to turn into a fight? She didn't have the energy for this. He was just smiling at her, one finger raised into the air, a finger connected to many strings. He twirled the digit, and the barrier faded from sight. What? Ruth snapped. I gotta say, Blaine. Ming chuckled. I like that attitude of yours. She'll stop at 1,000. Yeah, 7 out of 10, maybe 8. No, 7 definitely. Want to know where you're missing the 3? Ruth stared. Ming seemed to take that as a yes. He lowered his finger. As you are right now, he said coldly, the shepherdess would slaughter you. 100%. I wasn't doing that bad before. She was wanting to keep you alive. You heard her crazy talk. She's got it in her head that you're her best bet for the next Supreme. Most she was willing to do back there was injure you, and even that was only so you'd use it to grow stronger. He clicked his tongue. If it came down to a situation where it was her life or yours, Ming concluded, she'd kill you straight away. Definitely. The fact that didn't happen means she doesn't consider you a personal threat. Icy anger clenched Ruth's hands into fists, tight enough that she drew blood from her palms. Her eyes, hollow gold, glared down at the sitting Wu Ming. His words had carved themselves into her heart like the blade of a knife. What then? She growled, a trail of red aether crawling up her arm. I just give up? Let things go the way she wants? Oh, no, honey! Wu Ming waved his hands, a mischievous smirk on his lips. Not that at all. I said you have no chance as you are now. He winked. We just need to make sure that when the time comes, you're an entirely different animal. And a little birdie tells me I'm not a half-bad teacher. How about it? Ruth blinked. Hey, yo? Ruth Toji? Could it happen?
The one who threw away everything?
The one who threw away all the sets? Bear sets! By sealing all her sets, she gains the power of each of them.
He was born without aether, a heavenly restriction.
Is that real? Can that happen to you? Can you make a heavenly aether restriction to not use your aether for something?
Well, you can, pretty much. Gertrude couldn't use her aether for anything except Silencio.
It's pretty cool. Sorry, I can't stop thinking about heavenly restriction. Serena blinked through the soot and panicked tears as she pushed through the crowd, making her way to the apartment. No, to the scene of the crime. She and Bruno had been sitting in the hospital, watching over Anna Treese when the news had broken. She hadn't believed it. She didn't believe it. There was no way. No way. Serena, Bruno called out, his voice distant. Calm down. Slow down. We need to think about this carefully. Don't make a scene. But right now, there wasn't anything Serena could make but a scene. Finally, after bulldozing her way through the crowd, she arrived at the security tape cordoning off the hotel. She could see the room they'd stayed in from the outside of the building, a burnt-out husk, smoke drifting away from it. Ma'am, one of the armored security officers manning the barrier raised a menacing hand. Stand back! Serena didn't move back, but she didn't go any further either. That was apparently good enough for the guard. She just stood there, breath heaving, as she looked up at the smoke. Bruno was right. They had to think about this properly. She had to think about this properly. Her mind ran over the situation the news had described. The Silver Eye reporter Ray Rudishia had been murdered. What was left of her body was up in that room right now, clawed and torn and burnt apart, a grisly sight. The pictures they'd shown had been nauseating. After murdering Rudishia, the killer had engaged her bodyguards in a battle that had taken them through a nearby construction site and streets. Several civilians had been killed, and the property damage had been immense. After finishing off the bodyguards, members of the security firm Rode and Restarosi, the murderer had fled into the night.
Well, you see, it was actually a giant knight in Azamar. It fled into his body.
Quick, get into my hands! Like, we're out of here! But that was bullcrap. Even if that had been what happened, there was no way the murderer was who they were saying it was. There was no way, just no way! Ruth Blaine would never do such a thing. Her face was plastered all over the news, revealing that the co-owner of the company was in actuality one of the terrorists from the Elysian Fields incident, a surviving member of Regiment Red who had struck in the heart of Supremacy territory. Right now, public enemy number 1. Serena let out a shaky breath. Okay, she'd thought about it properly, and she knew exactly what to do. Yeah? Yeah, she had to find Ruth. I could have told you that. But, she continued, I have an idea. Musazi's mouth was a thin line as he scrolled through the news article. After finally getting out of the hospital, he'd hoped to have some time to relax and reset before the next match in the Dawn contest. Of course, that didn't seem like it would be happening. Ruth Blaine was on Azum Ha, the woman he'd fought on Kalis Breck, the woman he'd fought alongside on Panacea, one of Skipper's protégés. But why? It didn't take a genius. She was working as one of Hadrian's agents. No doubt the Dalced twins were lurking somewhere on the planet as well. Ray Rudicia had obviously presented some sort of obstacle to Hadrian, and so he'd ordered her eliminated. It wouldn't be the first time he'd have someone killed to ease his way through the Dawn contest. There'd be a next move, and Musazi had to be ready for it. He took stock of the situation. Morgan was just as grim as Musaj, watching the videograph. Arms crossed.
Musazi, Zanzanik, Musaj.
Musazi. Ionia lingered by the door, a hulking figure of wood ready to halt any intruders. Marcus sat atop the windowsill, relentlessly polishing his pistol, blue eyes calm. Ash Del Durin had been posted to guard the exterior of the apartment building, and needless to say, Anya Hapgrass and Endo Silversaint were staying by Aklima's side. Gregory's current location was a mystery. Most likely he was meeting with Toll to report on Musazi's activities. That was fine, though. Musazi was surrounded by allies he could trust right now. He'd have felt less secure having Anya, Endo, and Gregory near him right now. Morgan spoke up, eyes still fixed on the videograph. I've been hearing rumors, he muttered. Yeah? Marcus looked up from his gun. Morgan nodded. Yeah. They're saying there were sightings of someone else at that construction site, a powerful Aether user. Well, Marcus shrugged. Apparently that Rodin Restarosi bunch weren't half bad. Blaine tore up half a district chasing after that Alice girl. No, Morgan shook his head. They're saying it was someone who used strings. It didn't take a genius. Musazi looked up from his script at Morgan, eyes widening. Do you think it's him? Wu Ming, the fourth contender, the clown of the supremacy, one of the three who had perished at Elysian Fields. Apparently, he'd even betrayed the supremacy during the battle. There'd been reports of his body, but Musazi supposed reports could be wrong. If they were, though, it meant that Wu Ming had been allowing his protégé to think him dead for the last 2 years. Morgan sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. I'll be honest, it sounds like something he'd do, but why would he be going after Ruth Blaine, of all people? You fought alongside her in the battle, Morgan knocked. Ionia rumbled from the corner. She was strong. Perhaps Wu Ming sought out that strength to challenge himself. It would not be the first time such a thing has happened. Musazi nodded bitterly to himself. He knew very well how far the clown would go for an interesting fight. The mission back on Nocturnus had been manipulated by Wu Ming too, so he could lure out Darkstar's Abyssal Knight. Anyway, Morgan said, straightening up, hand resting on his sword, this is an opportunity, Commander. If Wu Ming was on Azum Ha yesterday, then he'll still be here today. If we can find him, I can bring him over to our side. If we have the fourth contender in the 8 phases, we won't have to worry about petty attacks ever again. Marcus raised an eyebrow from the corner. Someone getting kicked out, then? It's the 8 phases, if I remember right. It's all arbitrary, Morgan waved a hand. It used to be the 7 blades. We can just change it again and make it the 9 knives or something. Musazi frowned. No! Do you not like the current name? Damn! Why is that his issue?
He likes that name.
I picked it out special. I'm the full moon. That's so cute. Oh my god. It's not that. I quite enjoy the moon theming. Do you not? No, I like it. It's just, this is an opportunity we can't pass up. Morgan stepped forward. We're doing well in this thing, Musazi, but you're running yourself raw in the process. Once you beat Dorothy Iro, do you really think you'll be in a fit state to take on the next opponent anytime soon? It's a miracle you're not back on that hospital bed. We need to take every advantage we can get. Once he defeated Dorothy Iro, not if he defeated her. Musazi smirked ruefully. His second-in-command certainly had a lot of faith in him. That said, though, his eyes narrowed as he looked down at the script in his hands. These nebula are really very demanding, aren't they? It will need to wait all the same, he finally said as he rose to his feet, tucking his script back into his pocket. I've just received an invitation. It seems Miss Dorothy Iro wishes to meet with me. He turned to stride out of the room, only to come face to face with Gregory Hazard. Instinctively, Musazi's hand went to his side, to a sword that he no longer carried. How had Gregory gotten in here without anyone noticing? Why had he done that? He didn't trust Gregory nearly enough to consider betrayal improbable. If that bothered the man, though, he didn't show it. He just rolled those crimson eyes of his, the ones that looked so much like hers. What was his voice again?
It's sort of like a bit listless.
Try not to have a heart attack before your match, Gregory said flatly. Relax. I've come with a message. Morgan frowned, lingering behind Musazi. What kind of message? Gregory didn't so much look at Morgan, instead keeping his gaze focused upwards, locked directly onto Musazi's own. A girl came looking for you at one of the other locations, wanted me to pass along a message, asked to set up a meeting with you. Musazi sighed. I'm aware Dorothy Iroh wishes to meet with me. Join up with Ash and... Nah, Gregory smirked. She wasn't part of the Iroh camp. She said her name was Serena Del Ced. Ah! Collab! Collab art!
Hi!
Were the voices
my
all...
channel!
Were the voices all right, by the way?
Yeah.
So true. Alright. Let me go to... I was worried they were a bit off.
Welcome back to
Let me get back
meme
to the...
review.
Do you not like it?
This meme is
I like the moon theme.
I dislike it.
It's funny to me that they base it around presumably Earth's moon that no one's been to in forever. Or do all moons just work that way?
No. It's just a cool moon theming.
I heard about this thing back on home. They only have one moon there, you know, and it has 8 phases. Isn't that clever?
I could be the full moon. What do you think, Morgan? Can you do some graphic design, Morgan?
Oh man, where's the last part I left off? Hold on. One sec.
Graphic design is my passion.
Why are there so many goddamn questions? Help me.
I don't know.
Pinhoney. Here it is, I found it. Weiser asks, what happened to Rico and Chloe from the Oliphants after Arc 11?
Well, Chloe has lost her great riches, presumably, and is now a normal person after the family's collapse. And Rico, he went to become a healer, so he's travelling the galaxy right now, doing his thing.
Nice. Next up is... Oh wait, we already asked about these.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
I think so. Well, you got the answer again.
What... fuck. We asked about... Have we already talked about the UAP and Supremacy's technological differences? Fuck me, I'm so lost.
Why do you leave that message every time you need to delete it once you don't use it anymore?
I found it. Okay, I found it. JTKC asks, are there big Aether schools / My Aether Academia type places? If so, what are some notable graduates and teachers?
Yeah, well, the like it's been mentioned before, combat schools and the Supremacy, which basically are a fast track for special officer or military. Gregory Hazard, for one, he graduated from one of those schools.
Top of his class?
No, he was sort of normal.
Middle of the road.
A mid-child.
He was born a mid-baby. Alright.
When he was born, that man was accumulating L's. He's like framed all sinister.
Next up, Lan asks...
He was born a blissful baby.
Shut up! Oh god, no. Lan asks, how does recording parts of massive objects work? I understand recording something you can hold in your hand, but what if you wanted to walk through a thick metal wall, for instance? Could you choose to record a human-shaped hole in that wall, or can you only record an entire object?
Unless you were really, really good at recording, you can have difficulty doing that to just any random wall. You'd need like an ability that has a mechanism that then allows you to record it if you want to do that easily, but you could do that.
Ooh.
And size is not that much of a factor if you've got an ability that accommodates it. Because once it sends into Aether, it's not even matter at that point.
Quaker asks, can anything cause a person's Aether color to change?
Yes.
Oh.
But
how?
Whether it would still be you and your Aether at that point is another story.
Interesting.
So if I were to
Okay.
hit you on the head and you suffer brain death and then come out of a coma and you've got a new personality, your Aether colour would change.
Okay. But it would also be like new Aether.
Yeah. So it's not just your Aether colour
I remember
wouldn't
you
change,
mentioned-
really. You would just have a different Aether.
I remember early on you mentioned, like, even if you, like, drastically changed as a person as you got older, your Aether would always stay the same color as when you unlocked
That's right,
it.
yes.
Okay.
But there's a difference between drastically changing and being a different guy.
Yeah. Winston asks, how does one become Ascendant General / head of the Special Officers, presumably head of commission, or the Commissioner?
Yeah.
Are these positions like Supreme Light, or do they use a more traditional promotion appointment system?
Commissioner is usually appointed by the previous commissioner, sort of designated.
Ooh. So what happens in the case of Arc 11?
Well, the previous commissioner came back and is the current one again.
What? Oh, I see. And then, who...
Ascendant General is actually just like a military position. It's a general above general, so it's promotion.
Sweet. Quaker Buttonnose asks, what's something with a back when I was your age we didn't have that reputation in the current time period of AS? Like something that maybe existed or was done, say, 80 years ago, but not anymore.
Well, advances of Panacea have been coming in since it was discovered, so that's been... the ease of use has changed over time. Okay. So it wouldn't be a matter of, like, dip your arm into this. It would be, like, a more involved procedure.
Yeah, they'd have to, like... Interesting. Okay. Let's see. Lan asks, has Dragon ever been back to Crestpool since leaving?
No.
Additionally, how did he manage to get off Crestpool in the first
Joined
place?
the admin corps.
They, like, picked him up?
Well, he joined the military.
Well, yeah, but, like, I assumably the military wasn't on, like, a gas mining planet.
They'd have a... Well, it's in the Supremacy.
Ooh. He was just like, excuse me, one ticket off of here, please.
It's like,
and they were like,
name? I don't have anyone. Dragon Solo, then.
Wait, had no one? Dragon Hadrian, then. Hadrian means no. One. I don't know. Had no one. Quaker Buttonnose asks, Tanoni, how do you come up with character names for Aetheral Space?
It depends. Sometimes I find a funny noise and I want to make Darnell say it. Sometimes there's some funny illustration and I like it. And sometimes there's just like a word that I think of and it sounds cool. And sometimes I steal words from Hunter x Hunter, like Macedora.
That's amazing. Lan asks, I know people think of the Supreme as a godlike figure, but do people worship them / pray to them?
No.
Okay. Lastly, Raroom asks, is there a term for the spouse of the Supreme? We have the Supreme heirs for their children.
There's not an official, like, designated role for that now.
And then also, as part of that same question, other than Hexpa Zoe, are there any notable spouses of Supreme?
Yes, but I'm not going to go into them because I haven't thought of them yet.
Okay.
And then I want to just put words together and have to adhere to it later.
Alright, well, we got a good chunk of questions out. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye!
Bye!
Wink.